This time we'll try something a little different, with a more condensed version of the Arcane Tomes called Lore Bites. Join us for some bite-sized Legacy of Kain lore. The Seer, who is also referred to as the Witch, was one of the major characters of Blood Omen 2. But nevertheless, she has precious little screen time, appearing in only a single scene and leaving an intriguing mystery as to her appearance and her presence. The Seer is first hinted at in Blood Omen 2, where Kain defeated Sebastian in the Industrial Quarter and learned of the device buried beneath Meridian that would spell victory for the Seraphan Lord. With Vorador knowing only vague details of discoveries of machinery from eons past, he sent Kain to visit the Seer, an ancient clairvoyant who was supposedly older than even Vorador, and who owed Vorador a favour to find out if she could shed any light on the situation. Kain travelled outside Meridian to the Seer's abode in the canyons, fighting off demons, mercenaries, and Seraphan patrols along the way, until he came to the Seer's cottage perched on a cliff top. The Seer's appearance was unlike anything Kain had seen to that point, and she was unsurprised at Kain's presence, and made several cryptic hints as to his past and future, before telling him to ignore the device and return to what little time he had left for night hunting, accusing him of being Vorador's lapdog. Only when Kain refuted this, demanded answers, and demonstrated his conviction, was the Seer forthcoming in explaining the device and the threat it posed to Nosgoth, and directing Kain to its entrance. The Seer also aided Kain in recovering his powers, somewhat confusingly, freely offering her wrists for Kain to drink, and appearing to somewhat enjoy the experience. After drinking her blood, Kain gained the dark gift of telekinesis that allowed him to activate the glyph seals around Meridian and open his way to the device. While Kain met the Seer, her cottage was surrounded by the Seraphan, with the Seraphan Lord ordering his archers to burn the cottage to the ground, hoping to kill the pair. The Seer refused Kain's offer of an alliance, claiming that her fate lay along a different path, before teleporting Kain away to the outskirts of the device. It was left ambiguous whether the Seer escaped the fire, but the final shots around the burning cottage showed that she wasn't present, hinting that she had indeed escaped. That was all of the lore of the Seer that was contained in the game, but beyond the hints of her being from an ancient time and owing Vorador a favour, there's little more concrete information about her history or her fate. But there is more to her story that didn't make it into the game. The Seer resided at a small cottage at the end of the canyons that was deep into lesser demon-infested territory. It's unclear if she was related in any way to the demons, although some NPC characters accused her of being responsible for their presence. The demon corpses outside her home may suggest that she's not actually involved with them, and in later levels the demons appear to be subservient to the Hilden invaders. The Seer's cottage can actually be explored freely by using some carefully positioned jumps before trying to enter the front door and triggering the cutscene. When entered in this way, the Seer's cottage doesn't have the Seer present, and many of the objects within lack collision. However, items used in the cutscene will be present, including several crossbows and the Soul Reaver. All are ultimately props and aren't able to be used as weapons. In this way, you can also gain access to a small backyard area behind the Seer's house. In early versions of the scripts, Kain's escape was via the well outside the Seer's cottage. Presumably the well wasn't placed right in front of the Seraphan in this version and could perhaps have been placed in the Seer's backyard. The Seer's background and appearance was the subject of much speculation in its time. Her title implied some kind of clairvoyance or prophetic foretelling, and indeed her remarks suggest she does at least possess some degree of knowledge of Kain's future. But beyond that, the true extent of her foresight is unclear. At least one Blood Omen 1 source mentions, quote, an ancient seer, foretelling the rise of the legions of the Nemesis, leading many players to believe that this could well be the same seer. The lost seers of Avernus from the cancelled multiplayer Nosgoth obviously owe some degree of their name to a reference to the seer, but in-universe appear to be largely unrelated, aside from their capacity for divination. The true extent of the rest of the seer's powers are unknown, but she does at least bear the powers of telekinesis and some degree of teleportation. In terms of appearance, the seer's initial concept art depicts her in similar attire, but with a head crest like the rest of the Hilden and insectoid wings. The character ultimately ended up without the wings, and with a visage that was greatly developed, and ended up very different to the ragged post-banishment Hilden seen in Blood Omen 2, with distinct ear-like crests on her temples and back crests, with her also bearing a full head of hair. Complicating matters, she bears fangs and appears intimately knowledgeable with the blood curse, although Kain himself remarks that she's like no vampire he has seen. The exact lineage of the seer would only be explained in behind-the-scenes interviews as her being an extremely powerful and mysterious Hilden. But that was not the end of the matter. Behind the scenes, the seer was planned to make another appearance in the cancelled Defiant sequel The Dark Prophecy, which would have explained more about her and her lineage, and a figure greatly resembling her can be seen in the concept art. The plot details are vague, but it appears that she may have been both the subject and the foreteller of the titular Dark Prophecy. As explained in behind-the-scenes interviews, the story would have ultimately revealed that the seer was not just a Hilden, but a true Hilden vampire hybrid, descended from both bloodlines. Further snippets from the Dark Prophecy elaborated that the seer was indeed older than Vorador, and owed him a favour for saving her at some point. That she wasn't banished to the demon realm and was afflicted by the blood curse, and as a result she would have been shunned by both the Hilden and the vampires alike. The focus of the story being the Hilden and the demon realm, along with the seer and her prophecy, greatly suggests that she could even have been named. But this name has remained under wraps, a tantalising enigma, like the seer herself. We hope you've enjoyed these lore bites. Be sure to like and subscribe, and join us next time for further Legacy of Kain lore.